And I'm out 1 minute.
About to go live.
Yeah, I'm at 46 seconds right now.
All right, we are live with 6.1 seconds left in the third quarter. Portland Trailblazers and the Boston Celtics. Not much defense in this one today. The Blazers are up 103-98 as Boston is just about to inbound to see if they can draw a little closer. This game has not been lacking for hot shooting. They just put up a stat that the Celtics bench has not missed a shot in this game. But the Blazers offense has been just as good, as Robert Williams actually, funnily enough, just missed a shot at the buzzer. So that'll be the first miss by the Celtics bench in the game, I believe. End of the third quarter, Portland 103, Boston 98. And what's crazy, this is just an offensive barrage. Damian Lillard hitting his shots, CJ McCollum hitting his shots, Norman Powell hitting his shots. For the Celtics, you got Jason Tatum hitting his shots, Jaylen Brown hitting his shots, Evan Fournier, I think it was his first 7 or 8 shots from the field. He made them. Both teams just cannot miss. And it's not like, I mean, the defense hasn't been great, obviously, with the score this high, but it hasn't been as bad as you might think with the score.
No, there's just been a lot of contested shots hit so far. It's been a very well played offensive game, I would say, by both teams. Seeing Fournier go off has been fairly surprising. Because I don't think he had done a ton, at least from what I had seen with the Celtics so far. But it's been good seeing, the way that our lineup's playing, especially our 3-guard lineup. I think this is kind of what we were expecting when we got Norm, and it just hadn't really come to fruition. But it seems like that we're starting to click on the offensive end. And like you said, the defense hasn't even been bad. There's just been a lot of tough shots. Like, it seems like almost every shot's been, for the most part, contested, and it's just good shooting by both teams.
Yeah, it really, I mean, maybe a couple confusing defensive switches by Portland that end up with one of the guards on Tatum is really the only true flaw that I can see, which that's just, I mean, we talk all season about their failure to rotate on the defensive end. But I mean, it's really hard to guard a team when the whole team's making shots. I mean, we talked about Boston's bench. Peyton Pritchard has been filling it up. Obviously, Tatum's a great player. He's going to get his. And when a guy like Fournier is hitting all his shots, it just makes a team very difficult to guard. And can't complain too much at this point in the game because Portland's ahead and putting on an even better offensive display than Boston is at this point.
Yeah. It's been really good to see. Again, like I was saying, seeing the 3 guards play really, really well now, and we've gotten consecutive games of this. I guess we're turning a corner. It's kind of funny because in our last episode that we recorded, we were just kind of doom and gloom, like, oh, well, this is, I guess, what we're getting from them for the rest of the season. Right. And I mean, to be fair, they haven't shown us anything that would make me to believe that they could have put together a 4-game stretch. Even if we lose this game, we look so much better than we did even 10 days ago. It's not even close.
No kidding. In Portland and Boston, I think it was John that said that in our chat, our other host for our podcast episodes. He said Portland and Boston games are just always crazy. They always go right down to the wire.
Yeah, they do.
So, and it's kind of funny how we've talked about how Portland and Boston are both kind of the individual underachievers. CJ McCollum having a great game, starts off the fourth quarter with an elbow jumper to extend Portland's lead to 7.
Yeah, and good to see CJ playing well. Kind of looking through the stats here, Covington with 10 points. Covington had gone through an offensive slump for, 3 weeks now or so.
A little bit,
so to see him kind of get back, that's been good. And we're playing a really tight rotation. This is probably our playoff rotation that we're playing at this point.
Yeah, we haven't seen Nasir Little at all in this game. We haven't seen, obviously, Derek Jones is Romeo Langford gets called for the off-the-ball foul. Trying to guard Carmelo in the post. Not much from Carmelo, but he did hit a really important 3 toward the end of the third quarter there when Boston made a bit of a spurt. Melo hit a big 3 to put Portland back at 5 after Boston cut it to 2. So really contributions from everyone. Anthony's hit a couple shots. Nurk has been effective. Cantor's contributed.
What do you think has changed for this team over this past 4 games? Because again, to me, this is kind of the team that I was anticipating on watching this year.
Yeah, me
And
too.
we just hadn't seen it outside of that stretch where Dame was on fire back in January and early February. We just haven't seen this from this team. So what's clicked as a team? I wonder, did they have like some locker room discussion? Is it finally just the talent set enough and the coaching
Right.
just getting in the way at this point? What's happened?
A few things come to mind. I think Nurkic getting back into form, you really can't underestimate that, as Jason Tatum just gets a really athletic and one. Can't really fault the Blazer defense on that one much. Um, but that and Damian Lillard kind of having a hero performance in a way against Brooklyn, I think kind of helped remind the team like that if they like do their job, like Dame can get us to that point of like if if the role players are playing tough on defense, if they're um, spacing the floor well, moving the ball, setting off ball screens, then Damian Lillard's elite and he can go win us some games. Even if your shots aren't falling, keep cutting, keep getting to the rim, he'll find you. And so will Nurkic.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, as Boston inbounds down 105-101 with still 10:35 left to go in what's been quite a game, as Carmelo unfortunately actually picks up his fourth foul on that was a pretty ticky-tack call off the ball against him guarding Tatum.
Yeah, no, it's just been nice to see the team playing with more cohesion, and I think you're definitely right. Seeing Dame kind of kick back into that all-star type gear that we're used to
Yeah.
seeing from him again, I think that's been crucial, 100%. It's a star-driven league, and at the end of the day, if your stars are playing well, then your team just has a better chance to win. It's as
Right.
simple as that. There's nothing complex about it.
And
Uh,
even talking about this game, the reason it's so close and so high scoring is because both team stars are playing really well. Dame, CJ for the Blazers, and Norm to some degree. Like Norm's having a really good game and he's a borderline star. And then for the Celtics, Tatum and Brown are doing their thing.
yeah,
So
well, it's
you'll
been
see
all.
why
I
it's a close
mean,
game.
all five of Portland starters have played really, really well in this game.
Absolutely. And Boston's bench
Definitely.
is pouring it on.
They've got a good bench. I mean, Pritchard's really good. Nesmith, he's having
Nesmith
a
has
good game
really
tonight.
impressed me.
I haven't been able to watch a ton of him this year, I will be totally honest, but I know coming out of college he had a lot of hype around him.
Speaking of Naismith, he just hits a three off an offensive rebound, unfortunately, to cut that Portland lead down to one. We'll see how long Terry Stotts goes with. It's always interesting when the game's close to see how long he sits Dame at the start of the fourth quarter.
It's tough too because we've got Carmelo and Canner in right now,
Same with
which is
Simons. Carmelo, Simons, and CJ and Canner is not a inspiring. Really, with that lineup, you just kind of have to hope because that still is a good offensive lineup with Norman Powell in there. You just hope Portland can kind of keep pace offensively, and they've got a chance to now. Is they run a nice pick and roll, and Cantor will get some free throws here.
yeah, and that's the nice thing with Canner is you've got that solid backup center in there. Unfortunately, I wish that we just paired him with better defensive players around him, and I think that is one area where we do lose some with DJJ. Kind of, what's been your take on DJJ's benching? Because I was very skeptical at first, but I mean, it's correlated with us playing well again. Although I don't think that was the causation was him being out there.
I
But
don't. I
yeah,
still am a little confused by it because, I mean, as good as Portland has played, there's still obviously defensive improvement to be made. And that is what Derek Jones brings is athleticism and defense. And it almost seems like I wonder if they've sacrificed his minutes to really incorporate Powell into the lineup because it was obvious that it was taking a while, even though he's putting up the stats to get him to really click in the offense because partially because of that stretch where Dame and CJ were struggling and there was just so much ISO ball, and that's not what Powell's used to necessarily.
right.
At least the last couple of years, Toronto did used to play quite a bit of ISO when it was DeRozan and Lowry, so it's not completely new to Norm, but it's a new system, which takes time to get used to. So I wonder if they just wanted to ride him some more heavy minutes and give those fringe other minutes to Nasir Little, who honestly does have more potential than DJJ, even with DJJ being a more established player right now.
Yeah, and I guess you're really just sacrificing, like you said, the offense for some of the defense. I think that there's areas where we could definitely incorporate DJJ still into the rotation and give us some solid minutes,
Agree.
defensively speaking. And I do think that there are going to be times. I think at this point it's pretty obvious we're going to be in the playoffs. I know we were kind of questioning it for a little bit, but I
Oh
would be
yeah, Portland's up I think 3.5 now on Memphis for the 7 spot, and right now Dallas is playing Sacramento. You expect Dallas to win that game, but I mean, actually Dallas is ahead of the Lakers right now, so Portland's more battling with Dallas and the Lakers right now as opposed to risking missing the playoffs. Now Portland may still have to go through the play-in, but at this point, if they're playing like this, you would expect them to honestly win the play-in
they're not going to
fairly
lose
easily.
twice. They're not going to lose twice if they're playing like this. They've got too much experience for Memphis. And then, geez, I'm trying to think of the other two teams off the top of my head.
San Antonio, Golden State.
Yeah, San Antonio and Golden State. Golden State would be the only team if Steph was hot, but even then,
Yeah,
they're going to have to really battle their way. As good as Steph is, I just don't see them beating a team like Portland twice, is the thing.
right.
I just don't see that happening. Now, as assuming Portland would win their first game against Memphis, but
Right. Which, if that happens, assuming Portland's a 7 seed, you don't even have to worry about it.
right.
Like you mentioned, Portland's going to have to lose twice in a row, and they'd have to really honestly kind of mail it in to do
And
that. Is interestingly, so to answer, there's still 7.5 minutes left, and now is when Nurkic and Lillard come in. Celtics with the ball down 1. So both teams, gunners are in there, except Brown is not back in as wow. That sure looked like offensive goaltending, and they are going to call it really athletic play by Tristan Thompson to get the follow dunk, but that ball was pretty clearly in the cylinders. So Brad Stevens isn't happy about that, but looked like the right call. We'll see if they challenge it as Tatum loses it going up. Actually,
yeah, I'm not even gonna lie, I'm way behind. So
yeah,
are
sorry.
counting
It's the sacrifice for live, and
sacrifice for a greater good.
it is. We'll see if Boston challenges or what the call is here. Because now looking at it, Thompson, that's probably a good basket by Thompson. That would give the Celtics a 1-point lead.
So are they challenging it?
We'll see. We'll see.
Is that something that they can challenge in the timeout or the refs look at in the timeout?
Wow, the officials and Blazers get a break there. The officials rule that the Blazers had already inbounded the ball, and then a different official blew the play dead. So it's actually Portland ball by default, and they can't challenge or go to replay because the game had started rolling a little bit. It's really smart play by CJ. He just took that ball and inbounded it right away when one official wasn't paying attention. And little confusion, and Portland gets away with one there.
I'm glad that we take advantage of that. However, those are the type of rules that are honestly really arbitrary, and I wish that sports in general would get rid of. Like, if it's a made basket, it should be a made basket. Don't just take it away because the team inbounded the ball really quick.
Well, they called it offensive goaltending on the floor, and then all the hubbub about whether to go review or whether Boston would challenge. Portland just inbounded it, and Portland makes them pay. CJ McCollum, they run a really nice play. Good to see some movement. They give the ball to Nurk in the high post. Dame sets an off-ball screen, and actually that's Powell, excuse me, and CJ curls for a 3.
Love to see it.
CJ misses an open. Powell streaking, but it doesn't matter because he finds Carmelo Anthony for a 3. 3's better than 2. Timeout, Boston. Portland takes a 113-106 lead with 6:48 left. You know, Norman Powell was wide open. You'll see the play in a second when you watch your stream on this fast break.
It'll be like 40 seconds, but I will see it.
Yeah, Norman Powell was wide open, but you can't complain because CJ found Melo in transition instead, and Melo cashed in the 3.
Hey, there we go. I just like seeing ball movement. I like seeing guys not just taking their own pull-up ISO shot. I like seeing that there's some passing going on that's leading to a shot. That's what we want to see. We want to see more off-ball movement. All right, I've got 107, 106 here.
Oh, man. Well, you'll see the nice play for CJ, the off-ball play for CJ soon, and then the fast break.
Wow, that goaltending, though. That should have not been goaltending.
That was a bad call.
That was
very bad.
I would not be happy if I was a Boston fan. But again, it's, this is 4 games in a row now. Do you think that this is kind of the norm that we see from the Blazers from here on out through the season?
I sure hope so. I'm still, depending on the matchup, not convinced that we are hitting our stride with enough time left to really, really challenge in the playoffs, especially
Yeah.
just because the West is so good. But we'll see. I mean, right now we just saw Phoenix overtake Utah for the 1 seed. Um, I think Utah's a bad matchup for Portland. I really do. But we'll see. I mean, Utah doesn't scare me as much as the Clippers or the Lakers do. Um,
Wow, he
and
did miss Norm right there.
yeah,
I
Norm was
mean,
wide.
Melo was pretty wide open too, but yeah, he had Norm wide open down below.
That's okay. 3 is better than 2. You'll take it. Although in the playoffs, if that's a missed opportunity, you might look back at that and say that's one we missed. But that's okay. They'll hopefully go back and look at the film. And
Yeah, I guess kind of talking about matchups though, I do get a little concerned. I don't think that this team is as good as the Clippers were last year, but it kind of has a similar reminiscence to it a bit, where the Clippers it kind of coasted through the season. They thought that they had the talent. They thought that they were the team to beat last year. And they were overload managing their players throughout the year as well. And then they come into the playoffs not hitting their stride, then hadn't hit their stride, just coming in thinking that they're going to dominate. And then they get beat by Denver in an embarrassing series defeat in the Western Conference semifinals, I believe. So I'm a little bit afraid. Same thing kind of happens to Portland, where different circumstance, but they're coasting through the season, not playing together as a team or unit, and then they get into the playoffs and they're just not on that same level. Now, that being said, though, there are a lot of teams that aren't. Like the Lakers aren't going to be on that level. We're not going to be on that level. Denver's been playing really good.
Denver is 9-1, I believe, since the Jamal Murray injury, which is really impressive and probably may honestly put Jokic pretty squarely in the MVP front runner right now. Although you still have to consider Embiid and honestly Chris Paul for the job that's going on in Phoenix.
Chris Paul, definitely. But kind of going back to Denver, I didn't think that they were going to play this well. All this being said, after the Jamal Murray injury,
No.
but looking at their depth, I was like, they've put together such a good deep team. I kind of would thought that it might give a chance for Michael Porter Jr. to stand out more.
Yeah, and we'll see. Denver honestly is a likable team, even though they are in Portland's division. I don't think that injury made them a bad team, but I think that injury made them not a title contender. I think that makes them a good playoff team that could win a series.
I think where they're going to have a struggle is when they do play a team who's really good defensively and when there's more physical play and they're really hounding Jokic. Because I think one thing we've seen, and Jokic is probably in a lot better shape than he was a couple years ago or even last year, but we have seen a tendency for Jokic to kind of tire out a little bit when he's being really physically hounded for a series. And that's what he's going to have to deal with, especially not having his. I mean, Michael Porter Jr. is almost their second star, though. I mean, he's kind of a star without Murray in there.
And we'll see how good. And also, just the fact that they got Aaron Gordon, that looms even larger now for them. Now that they don't have Jamal Murray, they can still have that star caliber players. The refs are actually going to take a look at this loose ball foul on Norman Powell. Marcus Smart came down pretty hard. We'll see if they rule that Norman Powell was making a play on the ball or not. It kind of looked like he was, but I mean, he did kind of clobber Smart in the face, and we'll see if the officials deem that was intentional or a basketball play or not. Could potentially a flagrant 2 in the ball, which for Portland up 6 right now.
Flagrant 1 or flagrant 2?
It would be a flagrant 1. It definitely wasn't intentional by Norm, but I could see them calling it a flagrant 1 because it was a pretty hard foul. Yeah, Norm's arm swings down. You expect him to probably call a flagrant 1 on this one. Probably not a flagrant 2 because, it doesn't look like Norm did it on purpose. But this would be 2 shots in the ball for the Celtics.
You have to be pretty deliberate to get a flagrant 2.
Oh, the officials do stick with the common foul, so that'll just be. I'm sure. Did you hear it through the?
Yeah.
Through my nice. They do rule it a common foul. That's the third on Norman Powell. So Boston will take possession with 5:35 left. Norman Powell is for some reason arguing with the ref. I mean, come on, Norm. No, it was a foul, man.
Yeah, it was a foul. It looked like he lost his balance though, more than anything. It was trying to regain.
Yeah. It's a foul. It's a common foul, which is what the officials ruled. So, um,
I agree with that. That definitely shouldn't be a flagrant one. I think that there's too much sensitivity with refs over those type of plays.
there is.
Like physically, he's up in the air and he's looking at the ball. Like he's not swinging deliberately for Marcus Smart or even trying to make a play while Marcus Smart has the ball. Like he's just coming down and his arm swinging.
Right. As Marcus Smart actually makes a really nice move to the baseline, scores 2. So it's 115-111, approaching 5 minutes left. Yeah, with the flagrant 1 and flagrant 2, I mean, they're trying to protect the offensive player, all the freedom of movement rules that have been going in. What do you think should, as McCollum hits another shot? Wow, what a game from CJ. Puts Portland back up 6. But McCollum with 30 now and 11 of 19 shooting. Amazing game from CJ.
It's a good game. He hasn't had one of those type of games in a little bit.
In a while, and it's good to see after he scored 10 against Brooklyn. Obviously, he didn't need to do much more than that because Dame was playing so well, but that was tied for his second lowest output of the season.
It's good seeing just over this last 4-game stretch all of our starters contributing in different ways. Especially Dame, CJ, Norm, and Nurk have really taken that next step.
As unfortunately, CJ actually turns it over in the open floor. It leads to a Tatum layup, so that'll make it a 4-point game. But still a great game from CJ. And we'll see. It was 4 minutes left coming down to the stretch run. You just get the feeling this is going to come down to possibly a last shot here. Portland still maintaining a 4-point lead, but, it just feels like one of those games,
Typical, as we said earlier, typical Portland versus Boston game.
Well, maybe not. We'll see. CJ McCollum has hit another 3-pointer. 120 to 113. Really high scoring. The scoring has not let up in this game. Unbelievable. As we're actually going to have. Looks like Boston's going to take a timeout actually with 3:40 left. Portland is in the penalty. Boston is not. I didn't catch on the scoreboard there how many team fouls they have right now. Maybe Kendall, you can see that on ESPN or something. But CJ McCollum. Really the only. You saw that the unfortunate open floor turnover that Fournier forced on him that led to the Tatum layup. But yeah, he's been amazing this game.
So 12 of 20 shooting then.
Yeah.
Let's see. What is the foul situation looking like over here?
I know Norm has 4. Covington had, I want to say Covington had 3 at one point, but I might be wrong on that.
It looks like that Powell has 3, Melo has 4, and that's it. Everybody else is 2 or less.
Cool. So it's Melo I was thinking of. And this is another game where it'll be interesting to see how Terry Stotts balances Melo and Rocco in crunch time, because that is really among the greatest debates, especially in Portland losses. If Covington was in stretch run, the fans are always like, why didn't Melo play? If it's the opposite, Melo was playing and Portland loses, fans are like, why wasn't Rocco in for defense? And
it's a catch-22 there.
It really is a catch-22, and it'll be one of Stotts' bigger challenges in the playoffs, I think, is making that call, because it could either one's a hit or miss, because you honestly need both of them. You need both of what they bring is in the playoffs. What could work to Portland's advantage, I actually think, is the fact that because the playoffs are so much more possession by possession oriented, there's going to be so more situations where teams are calling timeout after every possession, and he can just switch Covington defense, Melo offense.
Yep. Play a couple possessions through one way, play a couple possessions through another way. It completely dependent on the score.
Yeah.
Scoring situation.
And the flow of the game. Like if Portland's guards are really hitting their shots, like the 3-guard lineup is working, but the defense is struggling, he probably plays Covington. And if it's a game where the offense just needs a bit of a spark, and he can live with a little bit less defense, but needs that veteran guy to just go get a bucket, he runs Melo.
Hmm.
It's a good problem to have, but also one that you can really screw up.
Yeah,
It'll be a challenge.
we've seen it already a few times in the regular season. He screwed up.
Yeah. We've seen it do both. We've seen Melo take over games. We've seen Covington make huge clutch defensive plays. I mean, if it's like 5 seconds left, other team has the ball. I mean, we know Covington's going to be in. That's
You
not.
have to. You have
Yeah.
to. Although I have seen Melo in on the last defensive possession quite a few times this season.
Yeah. So we'll see. You wonder if, I mean, we probably not, but in that situation, you almost wonder if Terry Stotts is kind of ballsy enough to even take Dame or CJ out and put in DJJ.
Mm-hmm.
I doubt that happens, but if like their best defensive lineup, honestly, is probably Dame, Norm, DJJ, Covington, and Nurk.
Just
It's just
gotta
as you,
I just gotta imagine at some point DJJ is gonna get a little bit of a run.
we'll see, man.
He's There's just too much defensive potential, unless if he just really likes his 8-man rotation. But I mean, that's a tight rotation playing through here for the last what nine games of the season in
Yeah,
playoffs.
and in this, hopefully, that doesn't run him too tight and runs the guys into the ground before the playoffs. But
Right, that's my thought too. I mean, on the other side too, we have kind of coasted and had time off. CJ has. I mean, it's not like the guys have been playing the full season all the way through. So,
it's true. It's true.
and again, with the addition of Powell, we have a third guard that we can run things through, which we have not had that before.
Oh my goodness. So they run a lob play to Robert Williams, misses the shot. They call a foul, and I want to see that. I'm not sure about. Let's see. Replay always tells a different story, but they called a foul on Portland, and
Drew, can you update me on the score because I am still in timeout over here?
still 120 to 113. Man, Nurk barely gets Williams' arm. It doesn't affect the shot at all, but man, that's a tough one. And well, Stotts is going to use his challenge there, which
Winnable or no?
I'm not sure there's going to be enough evidence to overturn it because Nurk does touch Williams' arm. It does not. It's a really ticky-tack foul call, but maybe not enough to win a coach's challenge because he didn't completely not touch him.
Right.
But it's an important play, and well, from that angle, Nurk's really, ooh. Man, that's really close. And Nurk's just barely gets his left arm. I mean, Williams put it up with his right arm and was going to either way. So that really doesn't seem like it affected the shot in any way. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's not a foul.
What I'm finding interesting looking at the box score a little bit deeper is every team outside of Boston in the third scoring 27, every team had been scoring in the 30s up until this quarter, and it's 17 to 15 this quarter. It's like half the points, less than half the points being scored.
Yeah, I honestly expected this game to go into the 130s, which if it goes to overtime, it still will, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, the Blazers got a 7-point lead. I'd like to see them be able to put it away, but I mean,
hope so. They're at the point where they can trade baskets, even if the defense still struggles, as Williams will get a couple free throws. He's 64% on the season. We'll see if he can do the Blazers a solid and miss one here. He does. Back iron. Spoken into existence. Now the Blazers got to box out.
Out here.
Got to box out. Pretty solid game for a backup guy like Robert Williams. 4, 5, and 5. Not too bad.
He had a lot of talent coming out of college, so
He did. He does hit the second. So 6-point game is they're actually going to run point through CJ, which, you know, with him playing as well as he has, I like that. And Carmelo is still in. So looks like Stotts, at least for now, is going to go with that. And they run Dame off the ball. And now he gets it out near half court. They've got Marcus Smart, one of the better defenders in the game, on him. Flash double. And unfortunately, Dame loses it out of bounds. Smart hedged pretty hard, and it's one of those rare mistakes from Dame.
How much time's left?
3:08. Only Portland's 7th turnover. Portland's actually, weird as it sounds, is one of the best teams in the league at not turning the ball over, which it doesn't, like with the inconsistency, you would not expect that, but they actually take care of the ball really well.
Man,
Puts up a
I mean, at
three
the same,
way off.
At the same time, though, when you're running that much isolation, like you aren't going to have as many turnovers.
That's fair. That's fair. Only the 7th turnover for Portland. Boston's had 16, so that's a good look on Portland's defense, even with as many points as Boston has.
They've been playing hard. Portland's been playing a lot harder.
Damian's step back 3 is off. A couple bad possessions in a row for Dame. We'll see if Portland's defense can recover. Tatum knocks over Lillard. They don't call it, and Fournier hits a 3. Wow. That certainly seemed like an offensive foul on Tatum, as Dame's actually kind of struggling to get up, but he looks all right. Approaching 2 minutes left. It's a 3-point game. Fournier has 21 points on 8 of 10 shooting.
Jeez.
We'll see where Portland goes. They go over to Melo for 3, and he missed it. And they actually call a loose ball foul on Boston, so it'll stay with Portland. They're not in the bonus yet. So we'll inbound with new 24. Good work by Nurk on the boards to kind of draw the foul. And, man, surprising no call there. Really surprising no call there. Not a ton of contact, but still enough that you would expect them to make the call there, and that turned into 3 points for Boston. See where Portland goes. They run high low to Nurk. 10 to shoot. Portland's going to have to make something happen here. And they call an offensive foul on Nurkic as Smart just kind of goes flying. Nurk ends up on the dirt too, and Nurkic is hurt. No surprise. We'll see if that might. Oh, Nurk just needs to take a second. What I mean.
Out of all the injuries he's had, that's probably as good as it can get.
No, that's not a foul on Nurk. You got to be kidding me. Man, some questionable calls here on Portland. They call the illegal screen on Nurk.
I'm really so sorry in advance.
Offensive foul.
Okay, we Gucci.
Yeah, Nurk getting checked out by the athletic trainer. He just probably needs to take a breather. Hopefully he doesn't have to come out here.
Oh, yeah, that was a direct hit.
That was a direct hit. 156 left. We'll see if he stays in the game or not. He is hurting, and I can imagine. You feel his pain.
He'll be back. He'll be back stronger than ever.
Yeah.
Blaze has got to clutch up here, though. I think I'm finally caught up with you.
The ref is actually reviewing this one.
Oh my gosh, I don't think there's anything there. Let's see.
I mean, it would help Portland if they can manage to get the overturn.
I think that'd be pretty tacky if they call that. I mean,
both teams in the penalty now. 156 left. Both these teams, as we predicted, Boston ball going to be Boston ball down 3, depending on results of the replay review. But
I mean, I don't know. Knowing how NBA works nowadays, I wouldn't be surprised if they end up calling something on. I just don't think there's anything there.
We'll see. I mean, they left the Norman Powell one. They left that one common.
Yeah, it might be a common foul.
So far, bad calls or no calls have kind of washed out. You had the horrible offensive goaltending call on the Tristan Thompson put back, and then the lack of the offensive foul on Tatum that led to the Fournier 3, and now it's still, I mean, there's nothing flagrant, but the offensive foul call on Nurk, I don't know about that.
It's gonna be interesting to see what they end up doing here, because it could go either way.
I should be more up to date on the replay review, but can they actually overturn this call since it's in the last 2 minutes and call it a defensive foul?
Well, maybe they'd still keep the foul. Maybe it would just be a double foul.
It would be free throws for Portland. It'd be free throws for Nurkic if
they overturn it.
They would overturn it, yeah. Because both teams in the penalty. Nurk looks like he's going to stay in there.
Nurk's looking good. He's smiling over there on the sideline.
Refs are taking their sweet time here.
They are. It's a big call, though.
It's a big call.
Possession game. I just don't see. The only thing was Smart did see him coming and then kind of put his arm down. So I mean, I don't think it's dirty, but like we're not talking about Draymond over here.
Yeah. They show the upcoming next 5 for the Blazers: at Atlanta, at Cleveland, versus the Lakers, versus the Spurs, versus the Rockets. Some games Portland should go and get. Atlanta will be a tough game. They're playing really well right now.
Is Trae Young back?
What's that?
Trae Young back?
Don't know. I don't know off the top of my head.
If Trae Young's not back, that's a winnable game.
I mean, it's winnable either way. But as Sacramento is actually up on Dallas by 8 right now, middle third quarter.
Dude, Sacramento's pulling some strings right now for the Blazers. First beating the Lakers and now trying to beat Dallas.
If Portland can catch that game with Dallas, they do have the tiebreaker there for avoiding the play-in. It's just Dallas has been winning so much lately. It's kind of annoying.
Yeah, well, they got the talent, so I mean, not surprised that they've been putting it together. Man, this is taking a really long time. I'm wondering if they're going to call us a flagrant. This is taking a long time.
Wow. The officials ejected Smart.
Really?
Technical foul. It's a technical foul ejection. It will stay an offensive foul on Nurkic. So it will be Celtics ball, but I believe that means Portland would get a free throw here. From anyone they want, you would presume they send Dame.
I wonder if it's because, and again, the only thing I can think of is Smart did see Nurk coming up. So maybe they're calling it because it was.
They must have said it was dirty. They must have interpreted it as dirty. Obviously, the officials have more angles than we do. They must have just seen something that is Nurk's 4th. That's a big loss for Boston because now they won't have Smart's defense down the stretch.
Yeah, that
They're
definitely
going to send Lillard to the technical. Jason Tatum's just kind of wandering around out there. This would big free throw here for Dame to make it a 4-point game.
Yeah, that's a big 1 point. So will Boston get free throws or are they just going to get the ball?
No, because it's just the offensive foul. Lillard swishes the only one. It's a technical free throw.
Which is the first and last.
First and last. So Boston ball down 4, side out. We'll see who replaces Smart here on the floor. It's Pritchard. Interesting decision.
Yeah, Pritchard.
And he's actually going to run the point. Pritchard's had a really good game. So, and he's no stranger to the big moment we saw at Oregon. So we'll see. Guess Covington actually comes back in as well for Carmelo. So it looks like Stotts switches some defense for offenses. Jaylen Brown misses a 3. Pretty good recovery there from Portland, and they'll come back down.
Good. That's big stop. Big stop there. One more score and
puts the pressure on for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely puts the pressure on.
Especially if it's a 3.
As Lillard gets to the rim, and you called that an offensive foul. Wow. This is really close. Was Pritchard in the restricted area? Because this is a very similar play to Tatum. Peyton Pritchard was in the restricted area. It's a bad call. He was moving and he was in the restricted area. But they just roll with it, Boston ball. Tatum has it. Tatum drives, and he's fouled on the floor. So the officials really just blowing everything now.
Wow, that was a really bad call by the rest. I just saw that Lillard foul. That was a bad one.
Yeah, that's... Yeah. How does Dame still not get these calls?
I don't know, man. It's crazy just compared to the typical superstar. Now, I will say I don't really believe in all-star treatment. I think that it should be equal across the board.
Totally.
But, I mean,
you just saw in the next possession, they just give Jason Tatum 2 free throws for off-the-ball activity.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And now he hits the first. If he hits the second, it's a 2-point game.
He'll hit both.
Carmelo actually comes back in. So that's kind of actually goes back to our conversation a little bit, funnily enough, to where they have Covington in a little bit. Now they bring Carmelo back in for Portland's next offensive possession. Is, man, Peyton Pritchard's right foot is right there in the restricted area. Dame's arm doesn't go down at all. Kind of wish Portland could have used their challenge on that one, but they already used it.
Yeah, that was a bad call. It was close. But he was.
Man.
He was in there.
Right, let's
and
see.
you gotta call that.
Melo, open three. Yes, sir. 3-2 the dome. Huge shot for Carmelo off the bench. 5-point game. He stays in. Boston doesn't call a timeout, which is probably smart. They probably want to attack that lineup. As Tatum loses the ball, he knocks Lillard over, but it's a turnover. Here comes Powell. Beautiful show and go. Powell scores. 7-point game. 55.6 seconds left.
That's going to make it tough.
Huge last two possessions. One on offense, one on defense for the Blazers. That's really nice to see. Norman Powell now with 22 points.
Man, what were they doing there on that Melo three? Is that Robert Williams who was playing way off him?
Yeah, that was strange defense.
That was very strange deep. Wow. And no call. Yeah, I can't believe they didn't call that there on. Oh, that was pretty. Norm's ability to get to the rim. We have not, in the Dame and CJ area, not once have had a guy who can do that, go to the rim strong and drive like that.
His transition play is astounding.
I think it's better than Dame and CJ's transition offense, to be honest.
At attacking the rim, yes.
Yeah. He's more gifted attacking the rim in transition than Dame and CJ are, or at least more apt to it.
Look at that. The fake pass, and he actually, I mean, that's a win-win for Portland. He probably could have dumped that off to Nurk for the dunk there as well. Actually, he definitely could have. But either way, he got the layup. So Portland just needs they're up 7 with 55.6. There's still some time for Boston. Portland at this point really just wants to avoid fouling right now and avoid threes if they can. And Boston has shot the three really well in this game.
Yeah, it's not over yet, but one stop here or even limiting them from getting a three-pointer, and you're in really good position. And, man, that would put us 4-0 on the road trip, coming off one of our worst games of the year against the Grizzlies back last Friday, I believe.
Yeah, as Jaylen Brown misses a three, McCollum grabs the rebound, and Celtics will have to trap now, and Portland takes a timeout because as good as Portland's been playing, they still have a weird amount of trouble against the trap, but Portland has the timeout. They call it, no, inbound with 41.5 seconds left, 15 to shoot.
I was watching the replay of that Tatum turnover. That was good hands by Nurk.
It was. That's a good observation.
Good hands by Nurk. You know, with the amount of time left in the game, that's going to be really tough for Boston.
Portland ball, though, you would assume Boston's actually going to start fouling.
Yeah. Yeah, hit your free throws, ice the game, and that's kind of, I mean, again, 4-0. I would have not expected this in years. I thought we'd beat Indiana when I saw who all they had out, but after that, I didn't think that there was any way that we were going to beat Brooklyn or the Grizzlies. I thought we were going to lose to the Grizzlies again.
All right, so here we go. Portland inbounds, and two Boston players go flying into the scorer's table, and that might have. Tatum and Brown are both against the scorer's table hurt. What a disaster this would be for Boston. Holy cow. They both look, we'll see.
Did it look like, though, I haven't quite got there yet. Did it look like more of when Knock got out? When got knocked
Tatum's
out.
moving his foot around, and they collided with each other and went crashing into the scorer's table after they fouled Norman Powell off the inbounds. Brown will pick the foul. How?
Oh my gosh. What was that? That was really out of control by Brown, especially.
That would be about as bad as it. That
They're
is
both holding their ankle too, shin and ankle area.
That's as bad as Tatum immediately goes to the locker room. I'm sure Boston.
Oh yeah, he got rolled up on. Tatum got rolled up on pretty good. I think Brown looks like he'll be okay, but Tatum, oh well, Brown went off to the locker room too. Jeez, they both hopped off. Oh my gosh, what are they
Kind of
doing?
expect as Powell unfortunately misses the first. Norman, as good of a player as he is, sometimes he does miss the occasional free throw. I've noticed.
How do your two best players get hurt in one play?
Man, if you're a Celtics fan, you're just kind of saying, of course, at this point. It
Like,
looks like they have kind of emptied the bench except for Fournier. So
yeah. Like I think they're both going to be okay, both Brown and Tatum. It didn't look like anything too major, but still, I mean, that kind of wraps up the game for them.
yeah, Langford just throws up a wild shot as Lillard gets fouled, and that will just about do it here in Boston.
What a win! What a win!
Awesome win for Portland. Boston struggles have been well chronicled, but any East Coast win is still against a playoff team is just big time. As Brown's actually getting helped off, they show
Yeah, I just saw that too.
um,
That's weird because it looked like Tatum was more hurt than Brown was. Tatum got rolled up on pretty good. His ankle did. I didn't see Brown's injury.
Brown actually. You look at his shooting stat line; he really cooled off. He started the game off pretty well, but he only finished 6 of 22 and 1 of 9 from 3. As
Well,
Lillard hits the first of 2 free throws, and Portland's going to get out of here with a win in Boston. 4 straight wins against all playoff teams or play-in teams.
This is our best win of the road trip. Playing against a fully healthy team up until the very end there.
Yeah, except for Kemba. No Kemba for them. But.
No Kemba, but against a mostly healthy team. That's about as good as you can get. I mean, Memphis, I guess, would have been the best if you're talking about.
Powell blocks Pritchard's 3-point attempt, and Damian Lillard dribbles out the clock on a very impressive 129-119 win for Portland. They win the second half, obviously by 10 because the game was tied at halftime. They win the third quarter, and they win the fourth quarter by 8 points. So awesome win. Just got to go get it done tomorrow against the Hawks and keep the train rolling. We'll see if Sacramento can do Portland a solid and beat Dallas.
Yeah, that would be nice. I mean, all Portland can really do is control their wins right now. I mean, 4 games in a row now, playing really well over the last week. Geez, I'm impressed. I am very impressed. It's making me look like I might have to eat some crow. I'm not going to say anything yet because they did this one other time this year where they're looking good.
Yes.
But getting this close to playoffs, I just think that their mentality has shifted at this point.
It's looking good. It's looking good. We just have to trash talk them all the time on the podcast, and then they start playing well.
Yeah, exactly. Well, they listen to our podcast, so they take personal offense to it.
And you can listen to our podcast too if you're watching this live stream at Y-Ball Starters on YouTube. Please subscribe if you can. And we're on Spotify as well as SoundCloud, and you can follow us on social media at Y-Ball Starters, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Thanks to everyone who tuned in today. We appreciate it. Feel free to leave us a like or a comment, or like I said, subscribe. If you've got any cool segment ideas or want to tune in, we put out new episodes